And a very good evening, everyone. Welcome in to your box seat special. Yes, brought to you in association with Woodland Stud. Great supporters, of course, of our show. And it is on the eve of the Christchurch Casino New Zealand Trotting Cup, the 116th running of this great race. $750,000 goes on the line. And, of course, we have 13 runners with an opportunity to win the race tonight. A preview show which has the New Zealand Heralds and our very own brand, Michael Guerin. Michael, a very good evening to you. Thanks so much for being part of the show again. Exciting time building into the Cup each and every year.
Yeah, hi Greg. A big hi to everybody at home. Thanks for joining us because we do have a lot of information to get through tonight. But Greg, I'm excited about tomorrow, not for that Lazarus type effect you have at some New Zealand Cups. I'm excited for the punt. It's a really good New Zealand Trotting Cup punting day because often we've had strings of favourites, 5 or 6 or 7 from the All-Stars, which are good for multi-betting, not so much fun for working out the puzzle. Tomorrow, some interesting puzzles, not too many hot favourites. I think, and I say this honestly, it's the best punting New Zealand Cup day in the last decade.
Well, we've got the right man to help us out with that, the best analyst in the business. We call him the big fish, the whale, or our large aquatic friend. His name, of course, is Craig Thompson. Craig, great to have you part of the coverage again and looking forward to your insight for many of the reasons Michael was just suggested.
Yeah, good evening, boys. Good evening, viewers. I'm looking forward to tomorrow. I agree with what Michael's saying regarding betting-wise. Pools will be big. You can bet into the fixed odds and also the win and tote will be good as well. But just on the favourites, only got 2 under $2. Normally they're dominated with all-star runners 4, 5 under that $2 figure. So there is a dollar to be made there tomorrow, and I think we'll try and point the viewers in the right direction.
All right, looking forward to tapping into that. Very exciting day for a Cantabrian who's joined us to call the race this year. Of course, he's on the panel tonight for the first part of the show too. Matthew Cross, thanks for coming in tonight. I know how excited you are, in particular about calling this great race.
Yeah, 12 minutes after 5 is going to be where it all comes to a head tomorrow afternoon, evening to you guys and to everyone at home. I'm quite humbled by the experience that it has been so far in coming in here today and seeing all of the marquees and all of the tables set up. It sort of really hit home and the cup sitting next to you. So, yeah, it's a pretty exciting time.
All right, we'll look to have a chat about what it means to you very shortly, but let's set the scene in terms of what you can expect weather-wise because it hasn't been great here in Christchurch today, but I can tell you tomorrow, no drama at all, high of 17. The race itself, run at 12 past 5, as Matthew has said, will be about 14 or 15 degrees. $750,000 Christchurch Casino New Zealand Trotting Cup at Group 1 level is obviously the major draw card. A couple of other Group 1s though, $170,000 Macmillan Equine Feed Sire Stakes final, the very much sought after race that makes stallions in our harness game. The $100,000 Commodore Airport Hotel New Zealand Trotting Free-for-All, again, that Group 1 target there for the Trotters. And we have the Junior Free-for-All with Gaze Commercial as well, and a $50,000 terminating pick 6 that Craig Thompson will help you with tomorrow when he gives us his suggested way to play that. We also have the preview, TAB Trackside 1, what you're watching right now from 11 to 12 o'clock. And there is the scene here at Addington Raceway. Spoke to John Denton with regard to anything track-wise as a result of that rain. 34 mils in the last 24 hours. The track it would have affected the most would be Riccarton. Of course, Wednesday, the second day for them. But he was telling me before that they have been able to screen the track and it has come up absolutely perfectly. So no problem. He said if we were racing on it now, it'd be a good track. So you can certainly avail any fears you had about that. Cup week bonus back. It is a fixed odds bet on races 1 through 4 at any of the New Zealand Cup and Show Week meetings. If your runner finishes 2nd, 3rd or 4th, you'll get bonus bet money back up to $30, and that's on races 1, 2, 3 and 4 there. And of course we have fixed odds place bets paid back to 4th on our feature races during the whole week. That's available both online and, very importantly, if you're on course or betting in a TAB store, that plays as well. So you need to know that races 4, 6, 7 and 10. So that's some of the betting information. Let's have an early look at the market for the big one. the Christchurch Casino New Zealand Cup. San Carlo, more about him very shortly. Caught up with Beck Bartley today. They are extremely excited about having a runner in the New Zealand Cup. He's 9's out to $12. Spankham drifting slightly, 2's out to $2.30, and that's as a result of the move by the fixer, $3.20 into $2.80. I think Michael Guerin and I was suggesting that last week, and you were thinking maybe that the fixer might be the one to move, but that hasn't been the case.
Look, it doesn't take a lot of money to move these markets, to be honest. In harness racing in this country now, a $1,000 bet can move a market, and there might be 3 or 4 of those just from owners and associated people. So don't get too carried away with what you're seeing in the markets now. It's going to matter more for the smaller races with less turnover. What you do see there is a tightening of the market, and the favourites just going out 1 point and in a point. These horses like Cruise Bromac and San Carlo get out. Again, tomorrow we're going to have the Australian money come into the pools, the Australian win money, because it's commingled in Victoria, which is their biggest harness racing punting state. So what I would say is, if you really like a horse, back it now. There's a couple which have been heavily backed already in some of the support races, but maybe stick with the tote predominantly if you're a punter who punts below $100, because you're not going to affect the tote markets tomorrow. They'll be so big, and they get very, very wide, Greg, very wide on the day. So I do think it's a day where there's been 2 heavily backed horses, but I do see there being a couple tomorrow who will get crunched even further. And I wouldn't be surprised if we see a total harness racing rarity, which is an All-Stars red-hot favourite replaced by another horse in a market. That's Ultimate Sniper and 888. And over the last 10 years, that might have happened 5 times.
Craig Thompson, what do you make of the New Zealand Cup market as it is now?
Well, I think what's happening is a little bit like last year. I mean, the fixer was at a price that the public wanted to get involved, and I see that even more happening now, Greg, because he's won the previous year. And, you know, horses that have had a great record in the Cup, people remember from previous years and they come back for. I think Spankham got short enough at $2 that punters wanted to look outside the square, and they've looked at the fixer, and rightly so. And I wouldn't be surprised if it even closes a little bit more inside the next 24 hours. OK,
we're going to go runner by runner very shortly, but Matthew Cross is a young Cantabrian coming to Addington Raceway, working, of course, for Kentuckiana alongside Crandell Giddy, who strived to win this race and got so close on more than one occasion. Tomorrow's race day is going to be very special.
It is. Waking up in the morning, I'm lucky enough I get to go out and share the time with my family out in Kaipoi, which I'm looking forward to over the week. But not only the Cup, we've got the Group 1 Trotters free-for-all as well as the Sire Stakes, which are both going to be challenges, and a host of other really good races on the undercard. And I guess that it's poignant that you bring up Cran, because we're missing a horse this year, and I think that he would have really added to the race in Pat's Delight, and I'm absolutely devastated that he's not there, and he would have been a live chance. So that's unfortunate, but look, I've had some pretty good times in this sport, but I think that tomorrow's going to top it.
Just on that front, Matt, do you, in a race where there's 2 hot favourites, so there's 2 horses who are, one of them is expected to win, and then there's quite a big gap back to the rest, do you find yourself pre-planning what you would say for those 2 horses in a Catalyst-like situation the other day when you had another hot favourite where you think, well, what am I going to say if he's going to win?
I think Catalyst was very much off the cuff, but I'd thought about it and manifested over it for quite a while and put myself in that situation. And the same as with the Cup tomorrow. So we've got Spankham in the fixer, and look, I've put myself in that situation as to what I'm going to feel like before the Cup and what I'm going to feel like during the race. So then when that does come tomorrow, I'm going to be in a situation where I can handle that, because I've never had to face that before. I can tell you right now, I've got nothing written down for tomorrow. I've got nothing written down for the rest of the week. Anything that comes out is going to be off the cuff. And I got caught out a little bit, I suppose, in the Canterbury Classic. That wasn't my best call in the lead up to the Cup, and I think that was probably why I was a little bit overwhelmed as to, you know, what I might say if Spankham wins. So I think it's important that I go into tomorrow with nothing on my mind, and if something comes up, then it does.
Can I ask you a quick question? I mean, it's your first Cup week. Has it helped that you've had the galloping first day as preparation for tomorrow? As a lead-in, it's kind of eased you into the big week?
I think so. Clayton Chipperfield said after the race that he was quite relieved that it was all over the build-up to the 2,000 guineas, and I sort of cocked my head to the side and agreed with him a little bit when he said that. But all the same, you just have to go race by race, and obviously, you know, you're going to have to ride the emotions of the week. There's going to be highs and lows. Some favourites are going to get beaten. I'm not going to get some things right, but that's just how life goes. So, look, I'm a free spirit, and I'm going with the wind for the week, I think, Whale. But yeah, it's going to be a cracker.
Do you have a bestie for tomorrow? Not a best friend. I know I'm your best friend, but I mean a best bet.
Best friend, the best bet. Well, I think Amazing Dream's the best bet. As much as I like Heisenberg and I think that he'll lead, I think that she can sit outside him and beat him. I think that's the Quinella of the day. What will you get, Whale? $1.90? $1.70. There we go. $1.70. You could do worse than that. But yeah, I think that she'll be tough to roll later on in the day. Looking forward to the Sire Stakes. That's always a bit of a draw card, I suppose, with the 3-year-olds from the Purdon Rasmussen base as to what happens at the start. I'm looking forward to hearing what you gentlemen have got to say about that, not only tonight but tomorrow. But yeah, it should be a cracker.
What about the morning, Matthew? Oh, how well do you think you'll sleep for a start? But we often ask sportsmen, you know, do you have a normal breakfast? I know your great friend Mark McNamara has been in contact with you as well, and I'm sure he's given you some insight into what's required. He tells a great story about swallowing a chip at, I don't know, Penrith one night or something, so he never ate on race day again. What's it like for you? What do you do?
For me in the mornings, I normally just wing it, but I suppose this week's a little bit different. I really want to share the moment with my family. They're a massive part of this, and they're the ones who believed in me, first of all, 10 or 12 years ago when it all happened. So I'm going to have breakfast with my grandparents in the morning, then I'll pop over and see Mum for an hour and touch base with her, and then rock on here, and it'll be all systems go. It's another work day, and I'll be in full focus mode. But look, I want to be able to get to the end of this pathway, wherever that is, and have that memory, because there's only going to be one first cup. Yep,
there certainly is that, and we wish you all the very best for it. It's a massive occasion for him, isn't it, Michael?
It's a huge occasion, because sometimes you and I recently did the best 10 Sire Stakes winners of the last
10 years. Which will play tomorrow,
and also the 10 best Dominion winners. And you remember the calls. I can still remember words from Cup calls from 20 years ago. I can still remember what Rion Murtha said in the last 100 metres of the Inter-Dominions in 1995, just like you can still remember Keith Quinn calling Jonah Lomu running over top of Mike Catt at the same year, ironically, 1995. So I think, like Matt Hill last week, sometimes our commentators are the custodian of our history, Greg, in racing. So I think it's a really big deal, and I'm thrilled for Matt that he got the job, which was the right decision when Mark went back to Australia. So it's a component of the day, but as you know, Greg, it comes down to the action on the track, and I think we've got a lot of different things in play for tomorrow, including the novelty of the Australians, because some people at home won't know the Australians in the Cup or in the trotting free-for-all, and I think they add a real mystery to the potential outcomes of those races.
Yeah, well, I know Addington are thrilled to have them here, and of course particularly in those two Group 1s that you do refer to. Just on ticketing, if you haven't got your tickets yet, the great idea for you is to get online, addington.co.nz, and you'll get them cheaper than what they'll be when you try and rock up here tomorrow. And you do have an opportunity to upgrade as well onto the Lindau lawn, whether you do that online or you can do that tomorrow as well. It's going to be a massive day. We talk about Australians. Well, I had an opportunity to catch up with one earlier today who's pretty excited to be here. Mark, at 2, he looked like he was the best 2-year-old in your barn, but that didn't last for too long because he had a tough 3-year-old here, didn't he?
Yes, he did, Greg. He did reasonably well. I think he won one of the big races as a 2-year-old, but as a 3-year-old, God, I remember taking him to Australia, and he's still a colt then, and he changed a lot. So he made it an unenjoyable trip. He ended up coming home early, I think. I know he won the Derby heat, and ran 3rd in the Derby, I think. But when we got him home, you could tell something wasn't right, and he went to Matamata, and he had a few issues there. So I think he spent the rest of the season out.
Came back as a 4-year-old, got himself a win in the Kaikoura Cup, which was an example of just how good he could be. Then you took him to Australia, and again, he raced really well, but he was on his way home, bar a plane which was supposed to be flying over here being cancelled.
That's right, Greg. It's just funny how it worked out, and something happened with the next plane available that he couldn't get on, and it turned out that he was going to be there for probably another 3 weeks. So I think in that time he'd had a few days off and he seemed to be fresh and well, and we thought, oh, well, we might as well carry on. It was a suggestion of Philip Kennard's, so we did that, and gosh, the rest is history. Went on to win the Miracle Mile.
And Spankham tries to kick away. The fixer's away from the inside to give chase. So too Poster Boy. It's too big a task for Tiger Tara. On the inside at Spankham. Inch by inch the fixer's cutting back the margin. Spankham's lifting. Spankham on the inside. It's an all-stars Quinella, and Spankham beats the fixer Poster Boy and Chase Auckland.
I thought turning in the fixer would probably beat him, but he was really well on the night, and just 100% fit, and I think the last quarter was under 26, so he was always going to take a lot to get fast when he was running that sort of speed.
Spankham's got the kick at the 100. The Miracle Mile winner, Turn It Up. He's trying valiantly to come back at him, but Spankham will get two of the biggest prizes in Australasia over a mile. 1:53.4 the time.
Mark brought him back to New Zealand, of course, a Taylor Mile and Messenger double to complete a remarkable 4-year-old season that wasn't going to be that remarkable 4 months earlier.
No, that's right. Just the way things panned out, and we were just a little bit lucky with that delay with the planes that started it. But capped off a great season, winning those two major 4-year-old events.
Mark Shard, Turn It Up, Spankham in front. Turn It Up, Mark Shard, and Chase Auckland. Spankham at the 100 though in the Dawson Half at New Zealand Messenger Championship. Turn It Up, he'll get close, but Spankham too good.
Of course, ultimately became the Harness Horse of the Year as a result.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, it was well deserved. He did have a great year.
Turning in, it's the fixer, 300 metres to go. Spankham the inside, and look at Self Assured descend upon them. Spankham gets up the lane, Self Assured wide out. The fixer in the middle from Chase Auckland. Spankham up the Sweet Lou passing lane, took the lead over the fixer. Wide out is Self Assured, but the Cup favourite wins the Flying Stakes. Spankham by a length.
Is he the right sort of horse for a 3,200 metre standing start event? What's his greatest attributes, Mark?
His manners, Greg, would be his greatest attribute, and I think he'll need them all probably to win a 2-mile event. I don't think it's his best distance, but if he got the right run, he'd certainly be in 3.
It's all over here, folks. He's going to do it again. He's out by 8. It's Lazarus clear of Jack's Legend and Tiger Tara. Get Nasser on the phone. He is in another orbit. Lazarus does it again.
Mark, from 1996 to 2014, quick addition there tells me it's about 18 years. It was a long time between drinks winning the New Zealand Cup.
Yeah, well, it's a hard race to win, Greg, so we've done well over the last 6 years for sure, but Ilvacola was the first, and then, as you say, it was a long wait to the next one, but it's a great race to win.
And Natalie Rasmussen gets her first ever New Zealand Cup driving success as the stable makes it 6 in the past for Mark Purdon. How brave was the second horse, and the Little Girl Dream About Me fighting on for third.
Is it still the ultimate race?
Yeah, definitely, Greg. It's a race we all want to win, and there's no other meeting in Australasia, I don't think, that has the same atmosphere that we have here on Cup Day.
I run wild, 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 I run
on the insiders Dream About Me and the fixer. Tiger Tara, the fixer's coming through on the lane. The fixer is going to win the New Zealand Cup and
cold as the night.
Some awesome scenes from last year. Natalie Rasmussen becoming the second female driver, of course, behind her compatriot in Kieran Manning, who did it in 2015 with Arden Rooney. Chance for us to have a look at the place market now for The big race, San Carlo. We'll hear in a moment from Beck Bartley about the Victorian. It comes up with barrier 1, $2.70 a place for it. Nandolo $9, Spankham $1.22, $1.30 the fixer. Now don't forget, pays back to 4th place. This is one of the Cup and Show Week special races, all the Group 1s. Classy Brigade, who I know Michael Guerin is keen on, $3.60. Cruise Bromac out to $2.60. And then you've got a horse that's suited to 2 miles, well and truly, AG's White Sox, former Easter Cup winner and of course was placed in it earlier this year. Behind Turn It Up, $6 his place price, and Chase Auckland, $2.70. Does that interest you?
It interests me a lot, and it's a far better bet for harness racing than it is for galloping, because often horses in harness racing, and particularly in the New Zealand Cup, will be driven to run a place. They want to win, we know that, but they probably think they can't. Now, if you are looking at having a bet on a horse in the Cup tomorrow for a place, you may think that the top 2 spots potentially are gone. Spankham and the Fixer are very consistent horses. But if you back a horse like Classy Brigade, or a driver you think's going straight to the marker pegs, because they're the horses who will get towed into 3rd/4th, you can back those horses with a lot of confidence. Now, Classy Brigade, I don't think's going to win the New Zealand Cup tomorrow, but he's a great place bet, and he's a fantastic first 4 bet, because if he rolls to the lead, John Dunn can control who he hands the lead to. He's on the marker pegs, he's covering about 6 to 8 metres less per bend, and they go in the bend 5 times in the Cup. That's a 30 to 40 metre advantage. All of a sudden, Greg, you're getting 3.6 for a horse who only has to beat 9 horses home, most of whom are going to cover more ground than him. The best betting tomorrow, all day, is those horses who are going to run top 4 at the same price you're getting for top 3.
What about for you? Is the one amongst that place market?
Well, I think Max Shard. I quite like the $5 around him to run top 4. I agree with Michael. I don't think Max Shard can win the Cup tomorrow. I think there's 2 obvious standouts, but I do think with the top 4 market, I see him probably running 4th. But there is a spot there for him, and at $5, I mean, I think it is a little bit of value. If you go on his runs behind 888, who I think will go around the junior free-for-all and be a dominant favourite, he was every good as him through the Homes DG and the Spring Cup. So, yeah, a nice place price, $5 okay.
Yeah, that top 4 will be a lot of people getting involved in that. Let's have a look at the first of our runners. Runner number 1 is San Carlo. Of course, trained by Stephen O'Donoghue and Beck Bartley these days. Rebecca will do the steering. She likes to be known as Beck. This 9-year-old by Mark III has amassed 29 wins from 51 starts and over $500,000. It's worth hearing from Beck Bartley about what it means to her to come to New Zealand and drive in this great race. Beck, a New Zealand Cup campaign with San Carlo. When did that come on the radar?
There was actually probably talk of it last year, really, but Steve's like, why don't we go to New Zealand? And I said it's a stand and start race. He goes, oh, well, there goes that idea. So, but yeah, I think just being the Inner Dominion being this year in New Zealand as well, and we thought we may as well give it a crack and see how we go.
Not your first time to a New Zealand Cup carnival, though. You've been here in a social capacity.
I have. A few people have said, oh, you've been before, you've got some inside information. I said, oh, not really. I just went there to have a good time and party, actually. I didn't think I'd be coming over to compete, but I was here when Karen won it, and I was lucky enough we got to do the after celebrations with her, and yeah, it was a really good time.
What about this horse, Murray? You better give us the background to how he came up with that name, because there are a couple of stories, aren't there?
There is a couple of stories. His mum's name's Bridge Player, and we've got our river over there, it's called Murray River, and Bridge, Murray Bridge. So, and there's another story, when he was a younger horse, we used to tie him up to do the yards. He was always a funny horse, and I get the blame, and I'm happy to take the blame, but I tied him up one day and I forgot to undo him. So at the end of the day, someone said you didn't untie him and he's drunk the Murray River dry. So that's how he got his name. And we had a lady that worked with us, Ellen Davies. She reminds me of that all the time.
Now, he didn't show much early on. In fact, he didn't start racing till a late 4-year-old. Why was that?
He was just really immature as a young horse. We tried him as a 2- and 3-year-old, I reckon, and every trial we took him to, he kept galloping and just doing little things wrong. And Yeah, I think it was just maturity, and one day Steve just had enough and just chucked him out with the broodmares, and I think we gelded him at that stage too, and we just brought him back in and just kept getting better and better, and yeah.
Look, he won 19 of his first 22, so he was beautifully placed.
He was, we really took our time with him when we thought he was, going to be a really nice horse, and Steve done a really good job placing him in races, and I think his ability just made it all happen.
What's his greatest strength? Because we've seen him so often in his races be put into the races by you. Is that why you think he'll be a great New Zealand Cup chance, his ability to stay?
Yeah, I think so. I think the longer the race, the better he is. So, he's just so tough, and he'll just keep going that same speed all day. So, I actually do think he has got a bit of speed, and just unfortunately we haven't been able to see that of late. And early on, a few of the bigger races we put him in, we just sat him on the fence, and he got home really good. So, he's got strength and he's tough, but I think there is a bit of speed there if we have to use that.
You talk about sitting on the fence. You'll be sitting on the fence at the start of the race. His first ever standing start. Where are your confidence levels with that?
I think he'll be okay. He's not a silly horse, and he is quite sensible. So, a few people have said, "Oh, it's your first stand. How are you going to go?" And I'm not getting worked up about it. Like, I think I've got to be relaxed for him to be relaxed. So we'll be just getting away as safe as we can, and wherever we end up, we end up.
How's he cope with the travel? I understand there's been some challenges, but quarantine issues, and obviously the grass over here is different.
Yeah, it is. We've got no grass at home, so he thinks he's in heaven. And we have done a lot of travelling, and we haven't had much sleep, both of us. So, but he's settled in really good at Kevin and Bonnie Williams here, and he wants to get out of his box now.
They've got a bit of history in the Cup as well. I'm sure you've tapped into Kevin's knowledge. We have to go back to 86 when he won it with Master Mood. I'm sure he's told you all about it.
He has. He actually hasn't shown me the replay yet, so I'll have to get that. But Kevin's been really helpful, and they're really lovely people, and lucky to have us stay here.
You've got your mum with you. How special for the Bartley family, because both of your sisters have been involved in the game as well. They
are. One sister trains and drives in Leeton back in New South Wales, and my other sister, she's just had a little baby, so she's home. And lucky that Mum come with me, and she could have stayed home with Lisa, but it is really special, and I wish they were all here, but I'm sure they'll be watching. You've had a chance to have a look at the opposition. You've seen a bit of them anyway through that Into Dominion series, the likes of Spankham and Cruz Bromac. Who do you fear? Are the All-Stars the ones that you're most concerned about? Yeah, I think so. Their team's just gone great at the moment, and Mark and Natalie do such a good job, and I think they are the ones to beat, and hopefully we might upset that. But it's just good to be in the race, and everything that everyone's done for us has made us feel so welcome, and it's just really special just to be the race. You've driven in big races, into Dominion finals, and driven this horse, and so many country cups, so many that he's won. What does it mean to Beck Bartley to be driving in the New Zealand Cup? People keep asking me that, and it's something I never even dreamed of, because I just didn't think it would ever happen. So just to be here and to travel, we've been to Perth and Sydney and done everything, but this is definitely the biggest thrill, and win, lose or draw, just happy to be here. Steve, your training partner, Steve O'Donoghue, and only recently became in the partnership. That's just added another facet to it, hasn't it? It has. I'm very lucky for Steve giving me this opportunity, and I've been with Steve for about 12 years now, so I'm very grateful for everything him and Anne have done for me, and the owners especially of Murray. He's, me just early driving, and they could easily just put someone else on, and didn't think I'd be up for this, but I'm very grateful for them giving me this opportunity. You have a lot of confidence in this horse, don't you? You drive him like you've got a lot of confidence in him. Yeah, I think he gives me a lot of confidence, actually. I always say he drives the race for me. I just sit there and he grabs a bit when it's time to go. But Yeah, he's. I think he gives me more confidence than I give him, really.
Thanks for bringing him to New Zealand. I know you're going to enjoy the occasion tomorrow, and we wish you all the very best.
Thank you.
What a great story, and thanks so much to Beck and Steve who were there. The owner of this horse is a guy called John Icon. He was there last night and received the plaque and was telling me how excited he was about representing Australia and being able to come to our great race. And this horse is such a good start. When you go through his Country Cup record, it's outstanding, Michael.
It is. He doesn't have a great Group 1 winning record because obviously they're incredibly hard to win. And they're incredibly hard to win off the marker pegs. And that's been the problem for him in the past, is last year when he got into the top grade, Tiger Tara was leading in these races and everybody, Spankham, him, our Uncle Sam, were all chasing. So he could win tomorrow, there's no doubt about that. I think he's the most important horse in the race, but he's not the best horse in the race, because if, as we're going to talk through the field, Craig, if they all settle the way we think they're going to settle, which is probably Classy Brigade, some of the All-Stars horses getting forward, they could go 4 minutes for the Cup. That helps spank him. If San Carlo steps quickly, or if he comes looking, e.g. Tiger Tara last year, then we could see a sub 355 Cup, and that starts to aid the fixer. So I think he's got a massive role to play in this.
He's a horse that I've noticed he just probably lacks a little bit of high speed, so I think it's key for him that he's got to get off quickly from barrier 1, which is his first step, because it is his first standing start as well. And if he does step, to get onto the speed and keep rolling, because as I said, he needs a 355 tempo to win this race or run top 3. He's not a horse that's going to pick them up from back in the field.
Yeah, correct. The huge problem here is, and for those who are just watching, who are galloping fans or don't see the box seat, we mentioned this last week, he hasn't had a standing start, but he's only had 1 standing start trial. Now that's huge.
I did ask her today about how much standing start practice they'd done since she'd been in. She said a little bit, and he's fine. He's quite sensible. He's by Mark 3. Some of them can get a little bit hot. She said no, he's generally very good.
Over a long period of time, I've found that standing start practice at home means nothing to horses, because the best trainer we've ever had, is Mark Purdon. And he has consistently had problems with standing start horses who aren't new to it. You know, Auckland Reactor, Chase Auckland, Adore Me. So even the great trainers sometimes struggle. Maybe the horse will cop it. I have absolutely no idea. But I want 30 or 40% on my winning price in my head of what chance I think he's got of winning the race for the standing start, because A, he's got no experience, B, he's never seen a crowd like tomorrow. 20,000 people in Australian harness racing, never. There's never more than 5 there. And he's got barrier 1, which is dreadful because the New Zealand Cup standing start can often be our worst of the year. There's a lot of disadvantages for him to overcome, but I hope he overcomes them.
We've got the colours of the 3-time New Zealand Cup winner in Terror to Love aboard runner number 2 in the book. His name is Hale Christian. He'll be driven by an Australian as well. Blake Fitzpatrick takes the reins. He's by Christian Cullen, of course, a Cup winner himself. He's won 9 races. Part of the reason that Blake Fitzpatrick's having a steer is, of course, the success they had when this horse was domiciled earlier in the year in Sydney, and he was able to place in a chariot.
Yeah, and I think that's where his best future lies. I think he's a really good miler who was a bit unlucky to miss the Miracle Mile last year and could end up in a Miracle Mile. Craig, he's like 3 or 4, maybe even more horses in this race tomorrow. Top 4 potentially, top 5, yes, by all means. Winning chance for me, and I could be wrong, but no.
No, $101 is probably his right price. The reason for that is he's last 2 standing starts he's missed away. He's only been placed 1 from 7 times from a standing start. Barrier 2 is doing him no favours because the ones that are drawn 1, 2, 3 and 4 are not the quick ones away. So he needed actually to be out wide and get dragged across. From barrier 2 it won't happen.
I think his run in the Easter Cup was actually pretty good. He made up a bit of ground, and if you want to throw him in for your outside first 4 hopes, then maybe he does have a chance. Let's have a look at a runner number 3 in the book, which is Henry Hubert, trained by Robert Dunn, one of 2 in the race he has. Gavin Smith gets another opportunity, his 3rd drive in the Cup. He's a son of Bettor's Delight. He hasn't had the ideal preparation, Michael, but he is Group 1 placed.
Yeah, the best version of him can run top 4 for sure. And we see him here. This is back in Jules' day, so that's Turn It Up in front, and he sat in the trail behind him and was able to run second. So he's clearly good enough to be here, and some of his runs, including the Canterbury Classic, were also very good. But he was disappointing last start because they think he had a virus or a lung infection, and then subsequent to that I thought he was only okay at the trials last week. So Craig, the best version, yes. Top 4 right for tomorrow for me's a no.
4 weeks without a race is a big concern, even with the one Cup Day trial, Greg. Also, the best version of Henry Hubert is when he can be planted on the speed. I don't see that happening tomorrow with the horses outside beginning in front of him. I think the guide to it is John Dunn driving the other runner. Gavin Smith gets on well with this horse, but when he was placed in the Jules, he used the barrier draw, he went forward, he trailed the right one, and he ran a Group 1 placing. And he was always on the cards to do that. Tomorrow, I think it's a different affair. Standing start, missing 4 weeks of racing is a big concern for me, so I'd say no.
And I can tell you that it was a late decision as well. John was umming and ahhing which one he'd go for. Obviously, Classy Brigade winning at Kokoda, and then the Cup trial swayed it in Classy Brigade's way. Right, let's have a look at runner number 4 in the book. It is the second of our Australians. His name is Our Uncle Sam. It's a wonderful story. The Frisbees bringing him across here, and former world driving champion Mark Jones takes the reins. He's driven in the Cup 14 times, all the way back to All Our Fella 1999. He was telling me today they've been working on his standing start manners, because clearly he comes from Sydney. They don't have a lot of opportunity over there to work on that. They've put an overcheck on him and also a chin rest to help him get away at the start. He said, we're hopeful that that would help. And he said the way he's working, he believes he's a first 4 chance.
He's right. He absolutely is a first 4 chance. And what's more important, he is massive overs. He should be half the price he is. Here's a horse who last year ran second in the Inter-Dominion final to Tiger Tara. Now, on this occasion, this is Miracle Mile Night, and he's the horse who wins the Bohemian Crystal. This isn't that big a deal for me because these are the second stringers. But what was big was in the Hunter Cup, he ran second to Tiger Tara, but he thrashed the rest of them. Thrashed them. And they were good horses. Some of the horses included the ones he takes on tomorrow. So he's already proven he can beat Spankham, and he's proven he can beat the Fixer. Not many horses in this field have proven over a staying trip they can beat those two. Now, the standing starts are concerned for the same reasons as San Carlo, but he's had more experience at it. He doesn't have barrier 1. He absolutely can run a place. I mark him $50 and $7. I think you're getting double that. And don't forget, Craig, of course, you get the option for the first 4 and a new driver come on board. He's the horse, the entire race, I think, is massively overs, and probably people's memories, because those races are late at night in New Zealand. Those races are run at midnight. They just haven't seen enough of him to know how good he is.
Yeah, well, I'm one of those people. I mean, I don't see enough of Australian racing to get a good guide on him. What I would say is he's had 5 weeks in New Zealand now, so he's acclimatised more than, say, San Carlo has. He's had a little bit more standing start practice, and I think Mark Jones, senior driver, world champion driver, will give him every opportunity to step away this week. He's drawn a little bit wider than he has been in his last 2 standing starts as well. So I agree with you, Michael. He is overs at $101. I haven't found a place for him, but he'd be one of those ones, if you're taking a first 4 or a 4th place bet, it'd be one you'd put in.
Very lightly tried, particularly at this level, is Nandolo. We saw him running 3rd in that video we showed with Henry Hubert and behind Turn It Up in the Jules. That's been his biggest result thus far. He's by Better Than Cheddar, and he's trained by John Howe, better known as Coaster. He actually went to the Cup function last night, Michael, which was something a bit different for him. He's a Yoldhurst come swamp type of man. He had a jacket on, a dress jacket, and he made his way to the function, which I was pretty proud of him to do that.
But no tie?
No tie.
No tie.
No.
I'm biased towards this horse because I'm biased toward John Howe. We grew up together in Greymouth. We both started driving horses at Victoria Park, which is now closed as a harness racing venue. And we came through the same system of horses. So I would love to see him run top 5 in the Cup. But for a small town boy like him who doesn't get horses of this quality very often, this is a huge deal to have a horse in the Cup, and I wish him the best. Again, he could finish top 5, as can a whole bunch of them in that clump Craig, because his last 800 metres in the last 2 starts have been very good.
Well, they've been really good. I mean, the Ashburton run was great. I thought the Kaikoura run was good as well. I mean, the run behind, Ultimate Sniper was good. He's a horse that's probably only had 20-odd starts, Greg, and he's only had 6 wins. So he's chucked in the deep end here. They've thrown the dice, and good on them. He's a horse that I think in 12 months' time we could see him in the Cup again, and he'd be a stronger horse and also a little bit more ring craft about him. I haven't got him in the mix. I think he's a horse, as I said, in 12 months' time we'll see a better version of.
Pretty special for the Smiths, who bred him as well, Philip and Christine and the family, and of course they have had success on the big days here. What's Under My Kilt won a Dominion, and they won plenty of races with Glenn Bogle as well, so we wish them all the very best. Let's go and have a look at the Cup trial, and it was held here last Wednesday, of course. And Michael, often we look to this and they go about 3:20 and they run home at 55 and there's not much to talk about. They went 3:16 on Wednesday, so it was a decent sort of hit out.
Look, I've never been a huge Cup trial man, as we see the fixer come up the inside, as he did winning the Cup last year, and Spankham coming over the top. I must admit, I've never been as big on the Cup trial as Craig has been. It's been a big source for him. But what I saw there last week showed me something which has made me lean towards Spankham just over the fixer. I know you two boys are going the other way, and I can 100% see the argument. But I saw Spankham able to conserve his energy for the first 2,200 of the race. Now that was the concern starting the season for him in the staying races, that he could conserve his energy and not pull hard and produce at the finish. But he was 4 back on the inside there, and he conserved a lot of energy and found the line really strongly. That's crucial for him tomorrow, because I think Craig, to me it indicated Mark's driving him quiet, tucking him away, not trying to lead every race this campaign has worked for him. And he's another one of those races, the Ashburton Flying Stakes, where again he was willing to take a trail. I think this has been a long process about tomorrow, and even in this race he was able to conserve his energy, which he's going to need to do over 3-2.
Well, he's just the ultimate professional. He's a horse that has only missed 1 placing in the last 11 months. I mean, you go back to December of 2018, he's missed 1 place, and that was the Easter Cup, Greg. He's just one of those horses that, you know, he puts in week in, week out, because he's such a good-mannered horse. Look at the standing starts here. Him and obviously the fixer step away quickly, and you can see them from comparable draws again, stepping away the first 2 away. So you can't pot him. I just don't know if I could take $2 about him. He's had a perfect lead into the Cup. He hasn't got a bad race. He's got a fantastic trainer, a fantastic driver aboard. So he ticks all the boxes. The only concern I've got about him is the 2 miles. That's the only concern. His Easter Cup run you could forgive. It was a wet track. He was off 20 metres. But he isn't proven at 2 miles yet, and we always talk about the 2 mile test. I don't think it'll be a problem, but there is that concern.
Yeah, are we looking for a reason for him to get beaten?
Well, forget price. If they were all paying the same price, would he be your top tip, or would the fixer be your top tip?
The fixer.
Okay, cool. Because I mean, people at home, some people don't care about price, so they're going to want to back the horse you guys think will win.
Well, a month ago he was $7.50, and that was a great price. Yeah. $3, it's starting to get even shorter than that now.
I initially went back over all his races, and I was concerned about him getting a hard 3-2. 2 things about tomorrow. I don't think it'll be a hard 3-2. I don't think there's...
Unless San Carlo steps.
And even then, I don't see it being 352, 353. So I think that would be a concern for him. But his conservation of energy has been a lot better. I spoke to Mark at the start of the season, and I said, would you just lead in the Hannah Memorial? He said, no, I don't want to keep doing that. He said, if I keep doing that, he's going to keep pulling hard, because he had a very strong diet last year of speed racing. When he settled 4 back on the inside in that Cup trial last week and came out and sprinted, that was the most important thing for me he's done this season.
All right. The fixer, of course, has won the 12 races, and the New Zealand Cup is an opportunity for him to join the greats by winning it on a couple of occasions. Classy Brigade is another with a very big chance in the race, and he starts from barrier position number 8, and we expect him to go a very good race. We'll get the fixer's stats out of the way first.
Here's a question for you about the fixer versus Classy Brigade. Which one do you think will step quicker, because they're both very quick?
I think the fixer will, because if you go back and have another look at that Kaikoura start, not only was Classy Brigade on the tape, he's touching the tape, and he was rolling forward, and that made it look like he was a really fast beginner. I think the Fix is a quicker beginner than him. He's won the 12 from 27. Incidentally, Craig, he's won 3 years in a row on Cup Day. He beat Vincent, he won the Junior Free-for-All, and he won the Cup. He loves this day.
It does. He seems to strike form at the right time. I mean, his preparation's very similar to last year. I think last year he had 6 lead-in races into the Cup. He had 4 tote races and 2 trials. He's had 5 this time, if you count the trials and the 2 races that he's had. For me, I think he's in the right form that he was at 12 months ago. I think he's, as a horse that, as a star, went 3:53.8 and winning the race last year, Greg, that's the second fastest time in the race, outside Lazarus. I think for him to beat Spankham, he's got to go that time again. Spankham will get him for speed, but will he get him for the staying contest? So for me, I think the start is paramount, and I agree with you. I think him and Classy Brigade are the 2 fastest away. If he gets the market pegs first, it'll make a very interesting contest.
I got out to the All-Stars this morning, and Mark Purdon had to say this about the Fixer. Defending champion is the Fixer. It's been an interrupted preparation. Mind you, it didn't go ideally for him last year either, but he looks to be peaking at the right time.
Yeah, I think so, Greg. He's, the last 3 weeks have been great with him, and we've had no setbacks or issues with him, and his training's been good. He's just progressed along the way, and I think he's close to peak fitness now.
Therefore, that makes him incredibly hard to beat, particularly over the 2 miles.
Yes, well, he'll see it out, and of course he's probably a horse that could make his own luck and still be right in it.
I got the impression from Mark that he's the one he's fears the most in terms of the rival for Spankham.
I like to leave it to the day before races to ring Mark, and when I ask Mark questions, often he says things which I ask him the same question again, because what you find with Mark is when you ask him a question, he'll tend to agree with you. So if you said, for example, we'll say the Fixer would be the top pick, he'd go, yes. And then you'd sometimes say to him, but if the Spankham sat on the Fixer's back, what would happen? Oh, I think Spankham would beat him. So often you'll get 2 different versions of a story over 3 or 4 days, because they're such good trainers and they train by feel so much that if a horse feels good one day, they'll change their opinion. I think they've definitely gone up and down in the last 2 weeks, with Spankham being top pick to the Fixer being top pick. The market's starting to reflect that. I'm still with Spankham, but it's more or less flip of the coin for me.
It's quite interesting too, because they haven't met that often. I mean, in New Zealand they've only met twice in the last year, so we don't get to see them race regularly against each other, and the record's 1 each. I mean, I think the Fixer beat them home in the Easter Cup and Spankham beat them home in the Ashburton Flying Stakes, so we don't see a lot of the 2 racing head to head, and that doesn't give us a great guide on them at the moment. We know one's a speed horse, one's a staying horse, so I suppose it comes down to price.
Well, it also comes down to one other question, gentlemen, and people at home are going to want to know this, what your opinion on this is. If you think the Fixer's going to be first to the lead, that's what you think?
Yep, I do.
If that happens, would he hand the lead to Spankham?
Yes.
And?
Oh, I think you'd probably have to. I mean, your main rival, there's a big chance he may hand to him and come right back round again, because I think the Fixer's not going to beat him coming up the passing lane if Spankham controls and walks for 4 minutes. The Fixer could beat him if he came round and rolls at 3:55. I think that gives him a better opportunity. I think, as I said, it comes down to speed versus staying potential.
Well, I reckon he might hand to him, and we saw him beat Tiger Tara and Dream About Me last year. You're right, the time is what's going to be the most crucial thing here. I can tell you this too, they went and worked yesterday, final hit out for them, Motokarara, 5:30 in the morning. 2 heats of 2,400 metres, so they really gave them a decent hit out. The last one in 3:12, and there was this much between them at the finish.
Yeah, I said to Mark, I think most people watching this show feel the same way. They like one of the 2 horses to win, and then you're saying to yourself, well, on the day you might change your mind. The smallest little details could change your mind, but I just think the New Zealand Cup tends to be won by a horse who's had a faultless preparation. The Fixer was different last year, but also horses who appear to be in the zone. I know Spankham's in the zone. I don't know that about the Fixer, but I have to believe Mark's opinion that he is.
Let's go on to Classy Brigade, the horse that Michael Guerin thinks could be first out and therefore control who leads the New Zealand Cup for the final 2 laps. Robert Dunn trains, son John. They've gone very close in this race before, of course, with Franco Nelson and his Kaikoura Cup performance. Well, it was beautifully rated by this man in front.
I think he's got a chance to go forward tomorrow, but I don't think he would stay in front. I had a long conversation with John Dunn. If you want to see that, there's 700 words of it going on the HRNZ website tomorrow. And he didn't tell me he would hand up, but that was the feeling I got. I think he's going to be on the marker pegs. I think he's going to be handy to the speed. I think he's going to take the short way home. I think he's the best value place bet in the race by a mile.
Oh, he's a great horse on speed. I don't see him coming from back in the field and running in the top 3 here. So the start is crucial. If you believe that he was the first one away and he's the first to the marker pegs, well, he's a great first 4 chance, and your $3.60 that Michael's talking about is very good money. If he doesn't get across them at the start and the fix is the first to the marker pegs, he's in a world of pain because he's not good enough to work twice in the race to run in the money. So you're betting on the start with Classy Brigade. The jury's out whether he gets across them first.
All right, let's move on to Cruz Bromac. He did finish 4th in the race last year. 3 days later, set the tongues wagging with his performance, of course, in the New Zealand free-for-all. He's to be driven by Blair Orange, so the old firm back together. Purden, Rasmussen, Orange by Falcon Sealster. He's won 21 races from his 45 appearances, and Mark Purden had this to say about him. You haven't had him that long back in the barn, but again, he looks to have improved quite a lot over the last week.
Yes, yeah, his run was good at Kaikoura, so following that, his training's been very good. He's not that comfortable yet going left-handed, but anyway, we hope that he's not too wide. It'll make it an easier job for Blair.
Drawn out where he has a 9, that should be a help to him at the start anyway, because he can scramble away, can't he?
He can. He's one or the other. He can fly, but just scrambled a little at Kaikoura. But as I say, he's one or the other.
If you go back and have a look at the Cup start last year, we actually had a false start. You talk about it being a challenge each and every year. It was a false start last year, and he was not the benefactor. He stepped and led by 5 lengths. That Cup might have been completely different. Mark's absolutely right. If he catches it, he can step very quickly.
Look, he can. I still don't think he's a 2-mile horse. I know he finished 4th in the Cup last year, but he had his chance to finish closer. I know he was back on the inside. I'm just not willing to believe he's as good a stayer as he is a sprinter. He can win the free-for-all on Friday. I don't want to back him tomorrow. I wouldn't be stunned if he won, but just not for me. And he's got the All-Stars factor, which is a positive on a training point of view, but a negative from the odds point of view. I mark him $21, Craig, and he's about $9.
Yeah, I'm probably a little bit different. I've got him in my top 4. I think he's a horse that didn't get round Kaikoura, and he probably, you talked about it on the day, Greg, he's probably not tractable enough to get round Kaikoura, and he needed to be first to the marker pegs, and he wasn't. He lost the race at the start. I think Blair Orange is a huge advantage for him tomorrow. I think the barrier draw is a huge advantage. Barrier 9's a chance for him to come across with those good beginners. Like I said, the inside 4's not quick away, the outside 4 are. So he gets his chance to come across. I agree with what you're saying with regards to false start last year. He was a big loser out of that. And of course, the second time he didn't catch it as good as the first. Blair Orange has had 8 drives in the Cup. He's only had 2 placings. I think he's got a realistic chance of driving his first Cup winner here. I've got him at around about $14 in the Cup. I think he's a horse that's certainly racing very, very well. And I'm not too worried about the 2 miles, Greg. I think another year under him, he's been racing against the very best of his age. I think he's an absolute first 4 chance. And if I was playing, as I say, that 4th place dividend, he's one that could fill that spot.
Mitchell Kerr had a runner last year, of course, in Forgotten Highway. He's got another one with a Smoke and By. It's to be driven by Matt Anderson. He gets an opportunity in this race for the first time by Mark III. He's won 6 races and his Cup trial was very good.
It was. I think he's a really good horse. I think he's a horse who probably won't win tomorrow, but I wouldn't be stunned if he come in and win a boomer and finish 3rd or 4th. Happy for Mitchell, happy for Matt. Good to see these young guys coming through. Like a lot of horses in the race though, anything from 3rd to 5th would actually probably, Craig, be a good result.
Well, 19 starts going into a Cup. It's not many, isn't it? He's not tractable, I feel, enough yet to handle the rise in class. I think he'll get there. I do believe he's a very, very good star. 2 miles, don't worry me about him. I just think he hasn't got the ring craft of those good horses at this stage. And has he got the speed to run down a Spankum? I'd probably suggest not. So I think he's a horse that, as I said, like a couple of others, Nandolo falls in that category. 12 months away, we'll probably see him here again.
AG's White Sox will certainly relish the 2 miles. He's been successful on this track in an Easter Cup, and he also finished second in the 2019 edition. Trained by Greg and Nina Hope, and the man who's driven more Cup winners than anyone else, Ricky May, on the bike.
That will help. What won't help, as we see AG's White Sox here, this is the Easter Cup. So this is 18 months ago, and the horse in front of this occasion looked absolutely screamingly home.
More the better.
And he beat him. But it was a 4-2 Cup. It's not going to be 4-2 tomorrow. And the problem with this is he's very rarely shown anything like that form since. He might have shown something comparable 3 times out of his next 15 starts.
Well, he did the next year in this race because he got close to turn it up.
Yep, but he's missed so many times in between. He might have won 2 of his last 16 starts. It's just not enough, and I know you can't be affected by the fact that the teams had a bit of a lull, but I hope his teams had one of those runs where things haven't gone well, and then he's drawn behind San Carlo, which might be great, but it's probably not going to be. There's just a lot of things there, Craig, that don't add up. I just simply think he's not racing as well or as luckily as he was 18 months ago.
I just know where he's been. Honestly, he's racing like a horse that 12 months ago you thought was a great chance of running in the money. I mean, he's $51. And that's probably his right price because, to be honest, he's not shown enough for the punters to be involved in him. The draw puts him in the wrong spot. The only positive for him is the driver for me at the moment. I don't see him on his performances at the moment turning it around.
Drawn alongside him is Mark Shard, of course, trained by the master Barry Purdon. Spoke to him last night at the Cup function and said, just shows you how hard it is to win this race. Hasn't won it since Chokin. No, mind you, neither has Tony Herlihy, who, of course, is our leading driver of all time. But this horse has come a long way this term, Michael. He was good enough to win at 2, of course, the Young Guns final, which he should never have won, the size of horse he was. And, you know, it was an incredible effort. But, gee, he hits his hobbles nicely here, and he's had a pretty good preparation for this.
Barry's had to be the Hall of Fame trainer he is to get this horse to be this horse. At one stage last season, they took the hobbles off and raced him free-legged to get him mentally prepared again and get his confidence back. He's just tried everything, and he's got him back, and he never doubted it. He said to me, oh, he's an open class horse, and I was like, are you looking at the same horse? But look, he's come back. Barry's Cup record is outstanding with horses who you may have thought weren't that good. Jack's Legend and Pembroke Benny, you thought, what are they going to do in the Cup? And Pembroke Benny ran 4th and Jack's Legend ran 2nd. I don't think he can win the Cup, but I wouldn't be surprised to see him go a boomer and finish 3rd or 4th. And Zach is a very, very good big race driver because some of these drivers tomorrow will be nervous. Zach might sleep most of the day. So there's a good chance he'll just turn up Whale, keep his nose clean for the first half of the race, push the button at the right time and finish 3rd or 4th.
I think I said one day at the Jewels, I said that the best version of Zach Butcher will win, he doesn't think. And he just goes out there and just drives the race. He's just one of those guys that just gets in the zone. You know, whether it's a maiden race or a New Zealand Cup race, he goes out there and he drives very similar. So the occasion won't get to him, and I think he's on the right horse to run in the top 4 here. He's my best value at the race. I think he's got out to about $41, Greg. He was in as short as $26 about a week ago. He's just a horse that's done nothing wrong. I mean, his Holmes DGs, his Spring Cup runs have been great. Sure, they're not been against Spankham, and they haven't been against the fixer, but you can only beat what's in front of you. And it's been 888 that's been beating him. And to be honest, 888, if he was in this New Zealand Cup, he would be in my top 4 as well. So I think he's a horse that Max Shard is certainly a realistic chance. If you want something at big money, put him in.
Let's have a look at runner number 13 to complete the Christchurch Casino New Zealand Trotting Cup field. And his name is Chase Auckland, of course. He's raced by the big syndicate, put together by Alabar, and he's to be driven by Tim Williams, who gets another opportunity in the Cup. It'll be his 4th drive. Here's what Mark Purdon had to say about him. Gee, it's hard to knock his form this time in, Mark. It kicked off with a New Brighton Cup win, and his Methven staying performance proved the 3,200 metres shouldn't be a barrier.
No, that's right. No, he'll see the distance out, and yeah, I'm sure when they settle and Tim opts to make a move with him, I'm sure he'll put himself in the race and be right there.
That's Mark Purdon talking about the 4th of their runners, of course, in Chase Auckland. Masterstroke for me, Michael, putting him on the unruly.
It is, but it also makes it a lot harder.
Well, I reckon he'll be out with Classy Brigade, the fixer, and he'll follow them through. It would not shock me one iota if he wasn't in front about this point, 2 laps out.
Totally agree. If he won the Cup, I wouldn't be shocked. If he finished last, I wouldn't be shocked. He's just that sort of horse. He could completely do his scone and lose 200 metres, or he could reach the lead after 600 metres and lead all the way and win. I doubted him as a stayer because he gets so racy before Methven, but Methven was really strong. I think there's only about 5 horses who can win the Cup if everybody races up to their potential, and I think he's one of that 5. So yes, he has to be in the mix, but he is also going to need a lot to go right because he's actually giving a head start to better horses.
I don't like horses on the unruly, but I do think this horse has certainly mentally got tougher in the last 6 to 8 weeks. Agree with you. Methven was a big turning point for me because I had my doubts on him staying. He outsold Ashley Locas and he beat him up fair and square that day. There was just something about Chase Auckland. I agree with you, Michael. He's a hard horse to catch because one week he can go pretty good and one week he can go damn ordinary. Of late, he's been very, very good. He hasn't put a foot wrong. I thought his Cup trial was quite good. I agree with you, Greg. I think he follows out the right ones. Being out wide off the unruly here, you're better to be out wide and going forward than being back on the fence here. I could see him slotting in 3 back, 1 off here, and he'd be a good first 4 chance. He's my 5th pick in the Cup, just outside his stablemate in Cruz Bromac.
All right. What about $100? Give you 100 each. How would you play it?
People don't want to hear betting strategies for the Cup. They want another winner. So if I had 100 or 1,000 of my own money, I'd put it a place on Classy Brigade. What my tip is for you at home is back Spankham to win.
Craig?
Yeah, I went the fixer to win. I thought, to me, I think it's down to 2 horses, him and Spankham. So the fixer, I backed him last year. I'll back him again this year. I think he's at $3. I thought the trifecta around him and Spankham first and second. I put 5 horses behind him to run third. So that was how I played it for $100.
Yep, and I wanted to keep it pretty simple and just play the fixer straight out. Bang, 100 on him. If you get $3 tomorrow, I'll be surprised. And if you do get $3, I suggest you take it. We're going to take a quick break here on your box seat. Of course, with Woodlands, when we come back, a couple of other Group 1s to have a look at. Welcome back into your box seat. It is the New Zealand Cup preview special. Let's get in to the 3-year-old classic, the $170,000 Macmillan Equine Feeds Sire Stakes final. The inside draw for Above and Beyond, stablemate Down to the Bone, drawn directly behind him. And Robert Dunn with 3 in the race with Mighty Louis. One change has been the dominant 2-year-old now into his 3-year-old career. He's still the benchmark. He's $2.10. He's got a beautiful draw. Aqua Sancta 18 into $16 has very good early speed. Lineups drifting. 21 out to $23. 1 of 2 in the race, of course, for Ray Green. The other being Copy That, who actually went very nicely at the trials last Wednesday. Let's have a look at the 5 heats to remind you of what's unfolded. Craig Thompson, the first of these was at Cambridge.
Yeah, this is Copy That in lineup, and Copy That's been in great form. His Cup Day trial was wonderful. He was in front here, and he got away with it. Greg didn't go overly quick. Mighty Louis punching up the passing lane, but yeah, he's going well at the moment. I thought David Butcher's driving well. Second row draw's not ideal, but we'll talk about the draws in this race. They come from anywhere. He's in the zone at the moment.
He's a good horse. I think in a normal season against a Lazarus or an Ultimate Sniper type 3-year-old, he probably couldn't win, but I don't see one of those horses this year. And that's evidenced by the fact that we've seen this heat here, where the Dunn horses have been able to dominate, the All-Stars horses. This is a good horse Above and Beyond. He's got the right barrier draw, and this performance here suggests that he is a definite winning chance, which, again, something different, because in recent years this race has been totally dominated by the blue colours.
Yes, certainly. His barrier draw, you might think, is a good one, but it hasn't been the best barrier for this race over a long period of time, probably because you've got to use them early. Here's one change. Here's him doing what he does best, Craig. This was first up.
Well, Ultimate Professional is our best 2-year-old last season. He's done nothing wrong this season. He can go forward from the draw. He's drawn barrier 2. I think there's a chance that he'll possibly get to the front at some stage, and from there he's the horse to beat, Greg. He hasn't put a foot wrong. If anything, he's got a little bit stronger. So for me, clear top tip. He's $2.20. I can't tip against him.
Mile rate wise, that was actually the slowest of them, Michael, 1:59. This was the fastest, 1:54.4. This is when I thought, he's pretty good, this guy. Line up.
He is. Anthony Butt takes the reins tomorrow because, of course, he's now the #1 driver for owner Emilio Rosati. Look, he can win this race. I didn't love his trial last week, but Anthony told me he was more than happy with it. Where he gets too early is tricky, because if he goes forward and the running line comes around 3, or the 3 wide line comes, he could get pushed back. If he settles early, then it's going to be a really tricky race for him. It's an awkward draw.
This is Flying Even Better, winning the last heat. He's a horse that never wins his races by much, or gets into a dog fight. He's always thereabouts. He was always behind one change as a 2-year-old. He stepped up well at 3. Barrier draws are concerned. They put the blinds on for tomorrow, which I think will sharpen him up. I didn't like his trial on Wednesday, Greg, but I think the blinds will make a difference. I just think he's probably thinking of a few other things at the moment. He's a horse that I believe will go forward. I wouldn't be surprised if he's outside the leader at the bell. He's good enough to run in the top 4.
Yeah, well, Tim Williams always says the harder you drive him, the rougher you drive him, the better he goes, and he'll have to drive him like that from that barrier draw. I spoke to Mark Purdon about the half a dozen they have in this year's Sire Stakes. Here's what he had to say. Well, Mark, this is the early season 3-year-old classic, and to have half a dozen qualify for it, that's an achievement in itself.
Yes, yeah, there's probably a couple you'd have been happier just to make the consolation with, but anyway, we've ended up with 6, and that's how it is.
Let's talk through them in racebook order. One change, the benchmark 2-year-old, and so far at 3, doesn't look to have lost any of his ability.
No, he's probably clearly our one with the best chance, so a good handy drawer, so he's got to be tough.
Dynabolt, still a maiden, but possesses good ability, and you give Sam Otley a chance.
Yes, that's right, yeah. Sam handled him well last start, so no, we put it back on, but he's a horse that probably need a little bit of luck.
What about Aquasancta? I know you've done most of the work with him in the last sort of 3 to 4 weeks, and he does possess good early speed, which could be advantageous today.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll go forward and see what happens. But and he was unlucky last start, so his form line would read pretty good.
Is he the smoky of your half a dozen?
Well, he's drawn good, Greg, and yeah, I think if he got the right run, he would be right there.
Last start winner at Kokoda, of course, was Virgil. He's just been below the top echelon of his grade.
Yeah, that's right, and he's probably one who would have been ideal to make the consolation, but you know, if he gets a nice run, he'll be thereabouts.
Flying Even Better keeps raising the bar, doesn't he? Tim telling me a couple of times, the harder you drive him, the better he goes.
Yeah, and he's probably going to have to drive him hard from that alley, so yeah, I'm sure he'll be up there looking at the leaders at some stage.
You've gone with a gear change for him.
We've added the half winkers, so yeah, keep him on the job, and it's going to be a true run race, so he'll have no time to be pulling.
Italian lad, the last of your 6, and he's shown us plenty in a short career to date, but he may not have the ring craft of some of the others, but he's got the raw ability.
Yes, he's got the raw ability. He's probably got an advantage following out one change, so that'll probably be a help. He should get a reasonable run through, and from there I'm sure Blair will make the right decisions.
It's a deep race this year. It was great to get that inside from Mark Purdon, and I think he'll go forward with Aquasancta nice and early. So how do we play this race, Michael?
I think Flying Even Better's a chance to lead from barrier 8.
Really?
I reckon they'll if they put the blinds on, they're not going back.
No.
So they're going to go forward, and who's going to get in his way?
Well, Aquasancta will get in front of him first, I believe.
And would hand to him.
Yeah.
I think he's a very good chance of leading the race. I think one change is the best bet in the race, and he'll probably win. But I don't think this is a vintage crop of Purdon, Rasmussen 3-year-olds. They may turn out to be, but I don't think this is a scary crop, Craig. So I think there's legitimate chances for Above and Beyond, Line-Up, Hard Copy, so I copy that, and even Bad to the Bone. I think there's a whole bunch of horses who can win this race, but probably one of the All-Stars will win it. But I just think there's a slither of hope there for the others this year.
Incredibly difficult race, analysing this race, because there's so many permutations of what's going to happen in this race. Greg, we talked about 4 different horses leading at some stage of this race, and we've seen that in years and years of looking at this race. Only one horse inside barrier 5 has won in the last 10 years. So they come from everywhere. So just because you've got a good draw doesn't mean you're the winner in that race. In saying that, if I had to put $100 on one horse, it'd be on the favourite, because I do believe he'll get a good run from that draw. He doesn't have to lead to win, and he should be one off the market pegs at some stage.
My theory around lineup was that he might eventually get to the lead, but you dispelled that a wee bit.
Well, he's a horse, but they tried to come off, come off the gate twice before, and one time at Alexandra Park he completely blew it, and the other time at Cambridge he wasn't that comfortable. I believe they need to go forward, but I think they'll be working instead of blasting. Sure enough, he's good enough to win this race. I'm a little bit like Michael, I'm not sure where he is early on.
Okay, how do you spend your 100?
I'll just go 100 on the favourite. I know I'm playing it safe in this race, but I'm like you, Michael. I think there's 5 or 6 horses that could win the race. It wouldn't surprise me. Bad to the Bones, one of them, and Copy That's the other. I love Copy That's trial on Wednesday. If you've got to back something rough at $41, on his run on Wednesday's way over.
And I can tell you, Blair Orange said he gave him a great feel. I'm having 100 a place on Aqua Sancta because I think he might be in the right spot.
Well, I'm having 100 a place on Flying Even Better, because if he drew barrier 2, he'd be $1.85 to $2 for a place, and I don't think the barrier is relevant. I think he'll be across half of them inside 200 metres, and he'll keep working forward. And if he doesn't get the lead and he's sitting parked outside the leader, I think one change comes around and gives him the 1-1. So I'm not saying he's the best horse in the race. If you're having a win bet only, then you back one change.
Okay, Tim Williams with a chance to win his second Sire Stakes. Of course, he won with Have Faith in Me. We're going to take another short break. When we come back, it's Group 1 time for the Trotters. The much talked about New Zealand Trotting Free-for-All is on New Zealand Trotting Cup Day, and the market for it looks like this. It is the 6th race on the program, Commodore Airport Hotel. Great supporters of our sport. We've got an Australian favourite in Tough Monarch. We've got 2 in the race. Of course, McLovin, who we know well here in Canterbury. It's at $7.50, and we have one horse on a rather large drift here, Sunday Sun. 5's out to $7.
Remarkable. When he came back at the start of the season and what he did at the back end of last season, Greg, $7 in this field seems amazing for him. But he keeps galloping. I had a really long talk to John Dunn about him on Sunday. He said, look, I think we've got him sound, but now I think it's in his head. And if any race day in New Zealand of either code will do a horse's head in, it's New Zealand Trotting Cup Day. Big crowd, noisy crowd. They come out in front of the crowd. There's no hiding. Not all the gallopers. You can't sneak them onto the track when no one's watching. It's tricky stuff. And they've got to warm up around the track. They can't go hide in the back straight. I don't see how he's not going to lose it again tomorrow. I hope he doesn't.
Inside second row is not ideal.
It just gets worse. It does. Tough Monarch's an interesting horse. A lot of people at home wouldn't have seen him race a lot. He's very quick off the gate. He held Tornado Valley, the Inter-Dominion champion, off the gate at Melton recently. Here's this cup trial the other day. This is largely irrelevant, but it shows that he's travelled well and that he got to the line strongly for Anthony Butt, who drives him again tomorrow. Craig, that's a crucial factor because we know Tornado Valley's extremely quick off the gate. He held him at Melton, which suggests to me he's going to lead. Now, against Marcula or Oscar Bonavina, that wouldn't be enough. Against this field, it's an awfully big help.
It's a huge help. A nice barrier draw. I was impressed. I haven't seen a lot of him, but what I did see him during the week, I thought he was very, very good. He should get to the market pegs first. Amaretto Sun's quite quick off the gate as well, but drawn outside him, so I think he'll get there. He deserves to start favourite. He's a horse to me that gets his real opportunity to get a big race from a nice draw today and tomorrow, and he's the horse to beat. And saying that, I thought Winterfell's trial on Wednesday was equally as good, Greg. So he is actually my top tip to win the race. I thought he was super in that trial. He's a horse that's probably got out to backable odds too at $6. I think he'll go forward from the draw here. Wouldn't be surprised if he's sitting outside outside the favourite.
Michael, you say that trial's largely irrelevant. He only actually went 2 seconds slower than they went in this race last year, which Woodstone was in, and of course it was won by Speeding Spur. A couple of seconds, you say, oh, that's quite a margin, but it is a trial to a race day. Woodstone actually went very good last year, and he's actually capable of getting himself into the money tomorrow.
No doubt. I think it's that sort of race where there's 7 or 8 winning chances because the big two aren't here.
Yeah.
And we'll discuss that another day. So here is Woodstone last year, chasing down Speeding Spur and just missing. Again, it's a race where McLovin can win. McLovin's a big, strong horse, a far better horse than when he left here. Majestic Man is the forgotten horse. His odds are significantly longer because of the barrier draw. He could win. And of course, Sunday Sun can win. If Sunday Sun turns up in his best form, he flat out will win. But Tough Monarch's the horse who's going to need the least favours of all of them to win because he should be in front. And forget any possible chance that they'll hold him at the start. There's Menangle gate speed and then there's our gate speed, and it's an enormous gulf, particularly for the Trotters.
We're going to have a look at McLovin, Craig, because he certainly has risen the bar, if you like. This is him winning the Bill Collins Trotters Mile, Michael, and he basically hasn't missed a place since he's gone to Australia.
Well, these aren't very good horses week in, week out that he's racing, but this was a mammoth performance because he was 3 wide for the last 800 metres and he kept coming and kept coming and kept coming when he probably shouldn't have been able to. Now, back to Addington, he'll like the big track. Craig, it's hard when a horse leaves here as one thing, then returns as another thing to get your head around the improvement curve. But there's virtually no improvement curve in harness racing bigger than when they join Andy Gath's stable as a trotter, as we've seen with Tornado Valley.
Absolutely, and he's a horse that adds so much to the race because I think he'd be one of the first horses to go 3 wide. Gives something else a cart into the race as well. Because he's in this race, it adds a lot more to it. I think the draw's not great for him because 2 favoured runners are drawn in front of him and it will posse up in front of him. But I do think he's a chance in the race because of his toughness. He'll work into it some stage. So I give him a first 4 chance, absolutely.
All right, $100 spent.
For me, I went Winterfell. I think he's just a horse that I know some people hate and some people like. But I think it's a race that lacks a little bit of depth, Greg. I hate to say that because we haven't got our 2 top trotters there. Well, he's not outside the top 4 or 5, Winterfell. The best version of him can win this race. I think the barrier draw plants him on the speed. I thought his trial was good on Wednesday, and I think the $6 is okay. I backed him to win, and I took a $50 Quinella with the favourite.
All right, I went straight out on him as well. I'm not a fan. I mean, since his 3-year-old days, where he was very good, Michael. He won the derbies and won the duels, and he was great. But, gee, he's been a handful for the All-Stars team. What I do like about it is the barrier draw. And when I spoke to Natalie about that, it's the best thing, she said. She can just let, or he can, Mark's driving him, let him run, and therefore, hopefully he'll settle if he gets to the park position, where he sat outside Sunday Sun and was very brave in the duels.
Yeah, he can win, but I just don't trust him. I started to not like him. He just keeps stealing money off people. So I think Majestic Man's got a really good chance in this race of just following this speed and being driven to storm down the outside and finish 3rd. So I've actually got Majestic Man a place, my $100, because I think he's going to be around 3.5 to 3.8. I think the Australians will come on the tote for Tough Monarch and McLovin, which could mean there's some real value around other horses on the place tote, and Majestic Man could be one of those.
All right, we've got some other races we're going to have a look at for you. Of course, race number 1 we'll have a look at because there's been a massive move here. His name is Robbie Royale, and gee, there's been some money for him. Don't forget, tomorrow, 11 o'clock, we'll preview each and every race, give you a strategy for each race as well. Ismoc's got the blows here, $5.50 out to $11. Quite a few of these went round in this race last year. Globe Trekker, $10 price for it. It's got the drifts too. Zoe the same.
Greg, that market's actually not right. Those odds have all gone doubles, ups and eight. Yeah, so
well, he hasn't gone from $7 to $6.
No.
He opened at 12.
That's how bad. Look, it's going to be a better day tomorrow. That's the only mistake we've made so far, so don't feel too bad about that.
Right, Robbie Royale's dropped from $12 to $6. I know that for a fact.
Yeah, absolutely. He's moved in considerably since the Cup Day trial, and he went 3.7 a mile and a half and home in 57 in that Cup Day trial. And what you had to like about it was the horses he was running down. There were some good horses, including his stablemate Majestic Man, that he was getting close to. Always thought Robbie Royale would be a good 2-mile horse for Williamson. Great trainer. This race historically has always been won by something outside the square, so he was at value. He's probably priced about where he should be at.
All right, we'll have a good look at that tomorrow though, Michael.
Yeah, good race to start the day. I love the race to bet.
You like Globe Trekker, don't you?
Robbie Royale split Globe Trekker. Globe Trekker ran fifth in this race last year as a 4-year-old. He's a bit new to the whole thing. I think if he steps away, the front line's very advantageous for him. So my $100 bet would be splitting those two. It's the only split bet of the day for me.
Okay, so you'd play it that way, and you're Robbie Royale.
Absolutely. I just thought Robbie Royale to win, and I put 5 horses behind him in a Quinella because I just thought it's that type of race. You've got to be big pools here tomorrow with what's going on the day, and I just thought at the Quinella, if he's at $7, you get a $30 or $40 Quinella.
All right, nice way to play it there in the first, and I'm happy to back Robbie. I think he's a great each-way bet. He certainly was at those inflated odds. Let's have a look at race number 4, which is the traditional junior free-for-all, and only half a dozen runners in it. I think that may be a concern going forward for this race, but Ultimate Sniper's drifted 2s out to 240, and you boys are red hot on the one that's moved, 290 to 220 AAA.
Well, this will be one of the bigger moves I've seen pre-race day for a long time, because it's incredibly rare that an all-star horse who's even money is usurped as a favourite by anything else but one of theirs. It just never happens because the punters come so often for the all-stars horses. Craig outstanding at Kaikoura, couldn't win a long way from home there. Very good at Auckland, beating Max Shard, who's obviously got a chance in the Cup tomorrow. Lots of pluses here. Only concern I think would be if Ultimate Sniper rolled to the front unchallenged, it becomes a tricky race for Triple Eight. So what do you make of that scenario?
Well, I think he's the best bet of the day. I think the 290 they put up was a little bit of overs. It was taken up very early. He's a horse at Kaikoura that didn't get around that track, and he probably was one spot too far back in that race. He still ran him in 55.6, Greg. I mean, he's chased down 2 serious horses, one who Michael thinks is a big chance of running in the money in the Cup. I think if he was in the Cup, he would have been a good chance of running top 4 or 5. So I think it's his race. They've obviously targeted this race, and I think
Just how do you think he's going to win it?
Well, I think there's a pressure in the race that the one horse is very quick off the gate. So I think that he's that first one.
Well, he went 310 out here, Craig, and they'll be trying to lead all the way again.
Well, they've got to use the barrier draw. I mean, there's no good going out there with the mindset, well, I'm going to look to hand to the favourite or who then hands to someone else, and you're taken out of play. A better act is a horse that likes to roll, has got the draw to roll and can run time. So why not use the draw? He was overs at $15. I think the bookmakers got this slightly wrong. I thought the 2 horses that were overs were drawn inside and outside, and they've both been backed.
All right, what about your $100 bet?
I just $100 on him. I thought, as I said on Wednesday, I thought he's the best of the day.
Yeah, same for me, Triple Eight on top, although at 290 I was keen. At 220 it's close enough to the money.
I knew you boys eventually would get your North Island biased up, so I'm going with the Sniper. I think he can bounce back tomorrow. I spoke to Natalie about his run at Ashburton, and on face of it, you go, yeah, he was pretty ordinary. They ran home in 54 seconds, and Tony went wide around the bend, and he got a bit rank. I haven't been a fan of this horse this season. I know you tipped him out strongly when he won here at Addington Raceway. She thinks, Natalie that is, she'll have to sit parked and probably have Triple Eight on her back. She said it'll take a pretty fast horse to run past me. Maybe he is that fast horse, but she's much happier with him.
If that happens, Triple Eight will go straight past him. Absolutely no doubt. Natalie's wrong. If he sits parked and Triple Eight's on his back,
I'll take Natalie Rasmussen's opinion over Michael Guerin's any day of the week.
He's got no winning chance at all.
Okay.
Honestly, if that happens, that scenario happens, you get no chance.
All right.
Would you a little be a bit concerned about what happened on Wednesday? Why he just galloped for no reason?
Massive difference. No disrespect to Olivia, but she was driving him, and he can do that. He can be really funny. He won't be doing that for Natalie. I'm absolutely sure of that. Right. Good debate, Michael. Let's move on to race number 8. We'll have a bit of that tomorrow if you want to hear some more fireworks. We've got Heisenberg here, 330 into 250. That doesn't surprise me. And Matthew Cross's best bet of the day, Amazing Dream, getting close to flip of the coin here, Michael.
I thought Heisenberg would lead and take a lot of running down, but gee, Amazing Dream was very good at the trials last week. I thought as good as one change. So I don't want to back a 3-year-old filly to beat the boy. Heisenberg is still top tip for me. He was one of my better bets of the day, but she was good enough at the trials that maybe she's close to as good as the boys. But even then, even if she's as good as one change, there's no guarantee one change to beat Heisenberg.
It's one of those races, if you're backing Amazing Dream, are you prepared to take the chance that she's going to sit outside Heisenberg and beat him? Because that's what she'll have to do.
Yeah.
And for me, that suggests I'd rather take the older horse over the younger horse. I think the value was at Heisenberg. He's not at the value at the moment. But for a straight win bet, he'd be my bet because I think he's the first horse of the market.
You're taking a trifecta as well?
Well, yeah. I'll just take the straight Quinella. Just him to win in the Quinella with Amazing Dream.
All right. I was Heisenberg on top because I think it was 3.3 when I made those selections. 2.5's close enough to the mark. But he might bounce back out again tomorrow because most of the tote punting will be done for All Stars horses throughout the day.
All right, Quinella of the day for me, you take both of those, Heisenberg, Amazing Dream, and then I don't really care which one wins because I think they'll run first and second. Last race is always the Get Out Stakes, and Taxman has come up with Barrier 1. He's quite clearly the one to beat. He has good early speed, he's $1.40, but I really like one here. Each way, all day, Tango Tara. He's a good horse, Michael.
He is a good horse. He actually got left in front at Kaikoura, and then he sort of didn't see the other horse coming, and it got him on the line. I think he's a 7 or 8 win horse, so I do think Taxman will lead, Craig, and I'm reluctant to be backing against the All-Stars in front in a race with a horse who's at least as good as Tango Tara, but I do think they're both horses who will win their 7 or 8 races.
Well, I think Tango Tara's price of $2 is very good, so yeah, absolutely top 3 chance. I played it this way. I thought if he rolls to the front, and I do believe he will roll to the front from Barrier 1, there's some people out there suggesting he won't lead. He's very, very quick out from Barrier 1. He'll lead. It's just whether he'll hold on. I think Tango Tara will probably have to sit parked out, and probably Don Fernando will drop onto the leaders back from 1 the second row. So for me, I just worked around the 1 on top, 7 and 10 for second, whatever you like for third, Greg, because in that race, it'll be on the speed. I believe you'll either have to lead, parked or trail to win that race.
All right.
I went $100 on Taxman because when I put that bet suggestion in our graphics, he was 1.8. But Copperfield's come out of the race and reduced into 1.4.
Goes around in the earlier race.
Yeah, so look, I don't want to back him at $1.40. I think he'll win. I was happy to take $1.80. That's now gone.
All right, I'm happy to go each way all day on Tango Tara because he's a massive chance of winning that race, and I think he's an absolute top 3. Best and value for the day. Start with you, Big Fish.
I made 888 the best of the day, but the value has gone out of that 290. He's been backed in considerably during the last 48 hours. My 2 value bets definitely were Robbie Royale, but again, it moved from 12 to 6. The one I really like was $30, and that's Girls Let Loose on the late trot. It's moved in as well, but I thought its run at Kaikoura before having a gallop, it would have won that race, Greg. That race is very open. If there's a race that's a blowout, it's the late trot. It's happened in the past, and I thought she was way over.
And we've got a $50,000 terminating pick 6 as well, so make sure you give consideration to that. Monaco, your best in value.
I think Heisenberg or 888, either or, they're about the same sort of price now. I think you could have a good, decent win bet on either. And my value's Globe Trekker in the first. Robbie Royale was close enough to the mark. Now, Globe Trekker's a very good stayer, excellent run here 2 starts ago. If it can roll forward and get on the marker pegs, it'll finish top 3. Standing start matters are crucial.
All right, for me, best bet is the Fixer. In the Cup, he can go back to back and join those great horses that have been able to achieve that. So I'm happy to be on him, and I really like Tango Tara. I think he's over the odds, and I'm happy to play him in the last. We have got some great racing to come tomorrow here at Addington Raceway. Just a bit of humour as well. Saturday night, sitting at home after a day at Riccarton. This happened, Michael. We had to go to Hobart. It was an invited drivers' race, and Pete McMullen, unfortunately, lost his seat.
Don't see it very often. The good news is Pete and the horse were fine, so that's why we're showing it to you. Pete fell out backwards, and look, he actually went and picked the seat off the track. Happened to Tony Hurley, I think driving Tiger Turner, or Tiger, one of them, 20 years ago at Alexandra Park, and he actually won the race. Pete didn't get out of it so well, but wasn't injured, so one of the good guys of Queensland Harness Racing had an unusual day at the office. That's him at the back there. Goes and picks up the seat and thinks, what the hell just happened?
Now, that would have never happened with the old sulkies because, of course, the seat's part of the sulky, but the new ones with them out the back, it's basically off the back of the sulky, meant that that could happen. So let's hope that doesn't happen tomorrow. You sleep well tonight, Big Fish?
A lot of analytic work done in the last 48 hours, Greg, I can tell you.
Is that a word, Michael? Analytic.
I think it's analytical.
But I'm happy with it.
It's that cold, I don't care what Wales just said.
It is very cold.
It's getting awfully cold.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to it, guys, tomorrow. I really am. Of course, we do a preview show earlier at 11 o'clock tomorrow morning, so stay tuned. We'll go through all the races, suggested bets as well.
And don't forget about Freeview channel, 4:15 to 6:15. It's 200 on the Freeview, Michael.
Yeah, and also, tomorrow morning, if you've got the time, if you're not working tomorrow, get up and look at trb.co.nz. The head-to-heads are really interesting. Here's the key tip for head-to-heads. Back the horse you think will be on the marker pegs, because the horses coming wide on Cup Day are getting themselves in a power of trouble. That's the fun way and the smart way, because the bookies do this. They go 2 $16 chances head-to-head, we split them. But the one who's going to be on the marker pegs will beat the other one home 8 times out of 10.
All right, thanks so much for your input, Craig Thompson, Michael Guerin. They'll be with me in the morning from 11 o'clock at this great venue. Hope you've enjoyed your box seat special, the preview of the 2019 Christchurch Casino New Zealand Trotting Cup.